Folks, a highly requested video. How can the Buffalo Bills potentially land Maxx Crosby in a trade? Now, as many of you guys know, I am literally going through each and every single person that is allegedly on the trade block, each and every single free agent that I think could potentially be a fit for the Buffalo Bills, or maybe just because we want to have a giant episode of what if. But Maxx Crosby is on the table today. I feel like a lot of us have been really adamant about adding Myles Garrett to this squad, but there's really three big names. So when it comes into the edge rusher position, right? Myles Garrett, obviously, then Maxx Crosby, in which that we are talking about today. And you could also include Trey Hendrickson in this conversation. Some of you might want to include Josh Sweat out of the Philadelphia Eagles, Montez Sweat as well from the Chicago Bears. A lot of potential free agent and or trade target edge rushers are out there because, as we have established time in and time again, the Buffalo Bills' biggest weakness, if you were to ask me, is our ability to get to the quarterback. You look at the Buffalo Bills' biggest problem on defense down to the key metric, it was preventing third down conversions. What you need to do to prevent third down conversions is to have a pass rush, have a game wrecker, and Maxx Crosby is one of those. So let's go on ahead and take a look at not only his production from his entire career, which I know is absolutely incredible. No shock there. His injury history, which I think is going to be intriguing. And then also his current contract and how much he would cost. And last but not least, us giving an answer of if I think the Buffalo Bills should pull the trigger and go for a player like Maxx Crosby. Shout out to each and every single one of you that has tuned in today. If you are watching the replay of this video, excuse me, I fell over my tongue there for a second. If you are watching the replay of this video, folks, I highly recommend that you turn that bell notification on when you subscribe so you can be a part of my live chat community. I have two live streams each and every single day, one at 11 a.m. EST and then one at 5:15 p.m. EST. So make sure that you have that notification bell so you can also be a part of this live conversation. And shout out to everybody in the damn live chat. Anyway, let's go on ahead and get right to damn business. And we're going to have to take a look right over here at Maxx Crosby's statistics. All right. In the league since 2019. Funny enough, he was in the last year of the Oakland Raiders before transitioning over into Las Vegas. But overall, he has been absolutely lights out for this squad. Several years. He was the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, Pro Bowler, All-Pro Team 2, a Pro Bowler, All-Pro, a Defensive Player of the Year, 6th in voting from what I understand, Pro Bowler, AP2, and AP Defensive Player of the Year, 4th. The guy's resume is here, especially when you ultimately end up looking at his sack numbers. All right, several in the double digits, 14 and a half in 2023, which was probably his best season. Only 7.5 this year, but we will take a further look into this. And then you just look at his tackles for a loss. He's an absolute dog when it comes into run defense as well. His assisted tackles, his quarterback hits are at 144 in his career. He's a menace. You sit back and watch that series that Netflix released a couple of years ago. It was Netflix's Quarterback. Him and Patrick Mahomes are always at each other's throats, chirping at each other back and forth. He's the kind of energy that you would want on this Buffalo Bills team, or really any team in general. Of course, if Las Vegas is willing to walk away from him. Now, he has been on a media tour, if you will, for the past couple of weeks. Most recently, he said, oh, yeah, I feel like Bills Mafia has been hitting me up, like asking if I'm coming to the Bills. He was saying that he has no control of whether or not that he is going to leave Las Vegas, and that is absolutely true. He does have no control. But then we saw a couple of weeks prior to that where he said that he was under the impression that Buffalo was going to draft him in the first place. Boy, oh boy, just more misses from this front office over in Buffalo. But starting off, we have all of this production. I think that we can all agree that this is what we would consider to be a game wrecker off of the defensive line. But as you can see, his career, for the most part, he's been relatively healthy, but then he only ended up playing 12 games this year for Las Vegas. So let's go on ahead and take a look at why exactly he missed time. And you scroll down, and this is from draftsharks.com. They break down all of the injuries that anybody has ever suffered their entire career. I love this website. Highly recommend you go on ahead and you check them out. But Maxx Crosby, his overall injury history and analysis, when you look at the sole injury that has kept him out of games, it was this year a grade 3 high ankle sprain, right? Games missed 1. Ideally, this was probably not accurate, especially since we revert back into his career stats. He only played 12 games in 2024. Maybe it was one of those injuries where he said, you know what, I'm just going to sit out because this high ankle sprain is hurting me a lot more than I want to initially let on, so he could save himself. Who knows on there? But when I look at this injury history, just a single high ankle sprain in the short time that he has been in the league since 2019, that is also a good sign for Maxx Crosby, right? So I'm looking at the statistics. I'm looking at his injury history. It sounds like a damn deal made in heaven. Am I right, Bills Mafia? But this is where things get a little intriguing. Hence why I'm kind of shying away from this being a possibility. If Brandon Beane can make it work, I'm happy about it, but bear with me here. You scroll down, and this is Maxx Crosby's contract. And granted, Las Vegas might not even do this. Pete Carroll might look at Maxx Crosby and say, hey, you know what? We just spent all that money on Christian Wilkins. Why would I go a season without 2 of the best defensive linemen in the NFL? But his contract is relatively interesting. He had a crazy extension. But as you can see, a potential out in 2025 right here, where the cap casualty, if you will, is nowhere near as much as what it was, right? The out is in 2025, meaning that the Raiders could potentially walk away from Maxx Crosby and make this a bit more intriguing. Right now in 2025, he is due $22.2 million in base salary. That is awfully expensive, especially compared to the $1.2 million that Myles Garrett is owed in 2025 for his base salary, and 0 guarantees, might I say. Moving here, go through with it. His cap hit is sitting at about $27 million. Cap league dead cap would be $10 million if they were to walk away. So the Raiders could potentially walk away with this without a lot of damage. But I'm going to tell you what, Bills Mafia, that right there is less than ideal. I am saying that I think Brandon Beane could potentially move around some money, restructure that said deal, or give him something entirely new. But again, this is significantly more expensive than the Myles Garrett $1.2 and $1.3 million owed in base salary. Although that I think this Buffalo Bills team would have given both of them a new contract from the beginning. But what does a brand new contract look like? Here we go. I'm going ahead and give you a look right here. According to Spot Track, and do keep in mind, this is all estimations. This is comparisons based off of edge rushers around his age. We're looking at this. Maxx Crosby would be owed $32 million average annual salary, or at least that is what Spot Track believes that he is worth. A 3-year deal just shy of $100 million. Average salary about 23.5. Now, they get these numbers based off of players that they compare him to be similar in production and also several other categories. Age as well. They have Joshua Hines-Allen, they have TJ Watt, and they have Brian Burns, all of which that signed a 5, 4, and a 5-year contract that can knock that out. And right as you can see, this average salary. Now, what's intriguing, if Buffalo were to do it, and I wouldn't suggest doing this for Myles Garrett because he's 29 compared to Maxx Crosby, who is 27 at this point. He'll be 28 at some point during the season, but I suppose that's kind of trivial at this point. But if we wanted to make this number a bit better, what we would want to do is that we would want to extend the deal to more of a 4 and or a 5-year contract for a Maxx Crosby signing. That way, we would be able to get the average annual salary down for each and every single cap contribution each and every single year. And hopefully we can convert the vast majority of that into a signing bonus where it could be equally distributed throughout the life cycle of his said deal. So now it comes down into, would I do it? Do I think that Buffalo should go after Maxx Crosby? I would not be pissed, right? Like, who in their right mind wouldn't immediately order a Maxx Crosby Buffalo Bills jersey if we saw that news break late March or early April? I think each and every single one of us would, right? Like, that's a big name. That is a game wrecker that all of us have been pounding the table saying that we have needed for the past couple of weeks since we got sent home by the Kansas City Chiefs. But in my opinion, I think that's pretty expensive. I think it's pretty expensive. Now, of course, Brandon Beane could go on ahead and he could restructure him. He can give him an entire new deal. But again, when you compare what Myles Garrett is owed in 2025 and 2026 to what Maxx Crosby is owed in 2025 and 2026, I think those are two separate conversations there. So if you were to ask me, I'm probably still leaning toward, I'd say, Myles Garrett, and I'd probably stay away from a Maxx Crosby trade, right? Let's see what the chat has to say. And guys, do me a favor, smash that like button if you didn't have an opportunity of doing so far. It is the easiest way to show some love at what I am doing over on this channel. And also, please consider to subscribe. I put out NFL content each and every single day. And I'll tell you what, so what makes it even more intriguing is that BetUS already has the odds of Maxx Crosby's potential landing spot. I found this pretty funny. Let's go on ahead. Look at this. Will Maxx Crosby become a Green Bay Packers player in 2025 and 2026? It sounds like Green Bay seems to be one of the top landing spots for this edge rusher. So very intrigued. As you can see over on BetUS, we have all of the predictions of who is going to play on the next couple of teams. Keep in mind that they are matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000, 125% of your second and your third, as long as you use code YouTube150. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this channel and showing me a little bit of love. Damn, the chat's going off today. Welcome in, folks. Please do me a favor. Smash that like button if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far. I do want to remind everybody, if you are watching the replay of this video, make sure you subscribe and also make sure you have those bell notifications on so you can actually join a live stream and be a part of this wonderful community that we have built over here on the damn channel. Maybe next time Bills would be smart enough not to give us good players. Ian17 with a Dolphins player. Oh, wow. He was a Dolphins fan this whole time, ladies and gents. He was a Dolphins fan all this time. We thought that he was a Chiefs fan. No, he was a butthurt Miami Dolphins fan who couldn't stand the thought of Buffalo doing better than his shit, sorry-ass team. You know what I'm saying? I startled my dog there for a second. And it's been a while since Bob had a good bitch slap. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is. Bills fan for life is coming in. What do you think a trade package would be for Crosby looks like? And would it cost more or less than a Garrett trade? I think that it would look very similar. From what I'm understanding, Myles Garrett would likely cost 2 first-round picks and a second, and then maybe like a mid-grade player. I would assume that Las Vegas would do the exact same thing. Just 2 firsts, a second, and or a third. All we really have to base our overall thought process is what Khalil Mack was traded for in 2018 from Oakland right over to Chicago. And that cost them 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick, and then I think a player. So based off of his age, his production, it's almost the exact same as Khalil Mack when he was traded from the Raiders over to Chicago. So with that being said, I think that it would probably be around the same sort of draft compensation. He's a little younger, maybe like another 5th or something along those lines, but that's intriguing. And then also an interesting wrinkle on this one, why I'm so confident in Myles Garrett is largely because he has a no trade clause in his contract. So he gets to pick and choose where he goes, right? So don't be surprised if a lot of dumpster fire teams are out there shooting over crazy draft compensation for for Maxx Crosby, and he ends up going to like the Panthers or something or the Jaguars. He doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract, has zero control in it. So if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, what I'm doing is that I'm probably only seriously taking trade compensation and or trade offers from teams that are in the NFC. That no trade clause for Myles Garrett gives him a lot of power. A lot of power. Buffalo didn't learn from Ravens Nations in the chat. What's going on, man? How you doing? Dr. DC Gregory Russo. Gregory Russo. Okay. Okay. So you think we need several upgrades on the defensive line or one big name player to make everyone else better on defense? Brent is coming in, and then shout out. His profile picture is me and my boy Brent when he gave me my first gift, my Nathan Peterman shirt, which I always wanted one. He got it for me. And then the big cardboard cutout of my face, which Richie is evidently mailing to me this week. I cannot wait for that. Trust me, one of my personal favorites. I'm going to throw it right on the damn wall for everybody to see. But it depends, right? I still think that we need some sort of a one tech. So there are a couple of options, and one of which that I'm planning on dedicating a video to. Like, his name is DJ Jones, right? From Denver. Solid one tech. That guy would be absolutely incredible. Maybe Daquan Jones has a better season next year, but probably not. He's definitely going in the wrong direction or in the wrong trajectory. But I think it's a bit of a mixed bag of what answer you're looking for. If you add a player like Myles Garrett and or you add a player like Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson, only those three, like the elite of the elite, that makes everybody better, right? That automatically makes Ed Oliver more of a threat. That automatically makes Greg Rousseau on the opposite side of the line more of a threat because he's going to be drawing doubles. A Myles Garrett or a Maxx Crosby is going to be drawing doubles, opening up for a lot of other like D linemen to go out there and potentially succeed. So always a solid thing. I think big names, defensive line, and CB. Mart Bob is coming in from Facebook. What is going on? I forgot that I'm streaming on Facebook too, baby. Look at that. 159 of you are on YouTube. 166 of you are on X. 2 of you are on Facebook. 1 of you are on Twitch. Guys, do me a favor. Smash that like button if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far. Let's get over to 100 likes before the end of this stream. I think that we can get this done. Bills fan is coming in. We should trade Kyer Elam before he totally tanks any value he may have left. We lost our opportunity. Of trading Kyer Elam last offseason. And it's not even so much our fault. Nobody wanted him. I am still of the belief that we sincerely tried to, but no team found any value. He's going to be a cap casualty. He's likely going to be cut. I don't see any team sending over any sort of compensation for Kyer Elam. We lost our opportunity of doing that last offseason, but obviously he is not a fit to this team. Is Walter Nolan a good one tech, or should we go after Kenneth Grant? I feel like Grant would be more of a fit for like a one tech, but here's the deal about Brandon Beane. He doesn't like the traditional one tech. Like maybe it's Beane or maybe it's the coaching staff. Like they like both of their interior defensive tackles to be reasonably athletic. I think Walter Nolan has the ability to be a solid one tech. He's a bit more athletic than like a Sweat, right? Or that one prospect, Tavondre Sweat, that all of us wanted, but the Tennessee Titans ultimately ended up drafting instead. Like Walter Nolan has been mock drafts between 22 and like early second. So we're going to have to see. Oh my God. Kyer Elam on the Ravens or Texans would be absolutely sick. Hey, listen, if he can thrive in a system that actually dawns his man coverage capabilities, then sign me up. I don't want a big name free agent. So we were in a rebuild this year and we did what we did. I want to see B nail every round draft pick. We need things. Yeah. I don't want to blow our load over a free agent. So I get where you're coming from, Chris, but here's the deal, right? Like, I celebrate being in his picks between the 3rd and the 7th round. Like, think about all of the guys that are due extensions this season or are pending free agents in 2026. All of us are sweating on how in the hell are we going to pay Benford, Bernard, Shakir, James Cook, a couple of other players that for some reason just like aren't really like on top of my head. Same thing with Taron Johnson, like who is already under contract. All of those players were drafted in the 3rd through the 7th round. Same thing with Matt Milano. All of our stars on this team, for the most part, were drafted between the 3rd and the 7th round. So I'm not so much concerned about 1st and 2nd round picks because I'm having a hard time pinpointing like an actual game changer that he has drafted outside of Josh Allen. Maybe there's an argument for Gregory Rousseau, but as of late, he's been swinging and missing quite a bit, right? Like, I feel what we need is a guaranteed Myles Garrett / Maxx Crosby sort of production. We could go out there and we could maybe draft a highly touted edge rusher in the 1st round. Or we could do the exact same thing in the 2nd round for a bargain bin and hope for the best, right? But the only way to guarantee a Myles Garrett or Maxx Crosby sort of production is by making a trade for Myles Garrett or Maxx Crosby. That is the only way. I wish I felt differently. I wish that I had something more to like hang my hat on and be like, hey, you know what? I trust him to go out and get a game wrecker on the defensive line. Like, I even look at the 1 year where we drafted Gregory Rousseau and Boogie Basham in back-to-back rounds, right? Basham's not even on this team. And while Greg Rousseau has been playing very well, hopefully he does break over 10, had 8.5 this year, solid run defender. He's no Myles Garrett or / Maxx Crosby, right? Like, same thing with AJ Epinesa. Like, we got him in the 2nd round as well. And like, he's been serviceable, right? But like, he's no game wrecker. I feel like Ed Oliver has been doing good, but like not like a true force, like right within the defensive line. So I think that if we truly want somebody to go out there and like be that dude for us, I'm probably going to go for a free agent pick, particularly on the defensive line. And Von Miller was that guy when we traded for him, folks. I know that our memories are short, but prior to him tearing his ACL, which was a freak accident, like no one saw that coming, he was producing for us, man. And who knows what his season would have looked like if he didn't get hurt. Bean's a great drafter. He just feels he's too scared to trade up. Think of Brian Thomas Jr. and Trent McDuffie, 2 players that I would have absolutely loved to bring in on this team. Johnny Fever saying, thanks. Wow. If Vaughn gets cut, do we save that money? Because only 3 years was guaranteed. Correct. Brooke, fantastic question. Fantastic question. I have a massive schedule of content that I am planning on releasing all off season. And diving into Von Miller's contract is going to be an episode that I plan on releasing probably tomorrow at my 5:15 show. So, guys, all off season, especially leading up to free agency, I am doing videos for each and every single prospect that I think Bills Mafia is intrigued in acquiring. Now, obviously, we're not going to acquire all of them, but if anybody tells me a name or if I see it trending amongst Bills Mafia, I'm going to make a video on it. And I'm also going to look at specific contracts. I'm going to look at who could be cut, Von Miller obviously being one of them. Some cut casualties for each and every single player. So I am very, very excited to knock that out. So if you are subscribed, I highly recommend you have bell notifications turned on so you do not miss an episode. If not, then go on ahead and just get in on the replay. We have Eddie is saying Shamar Stewart is going to be a beast. I love Shamar Stewart. I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl a couple of weeks ago. I want to say that clip is still live on my X. It's pretty deep. But yeah, dude, he's a stud. So is that one guy, Princely. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name, out of Ole Miss, but he was a stud. I was very impressed with him. Mike Green out of Marshall, please. Hi, Dan. I've been keeping up with your great content, even though the Bills lost to the Chiefs really brought me down. Well, you know what, man? I am here as a therapy session for you. I don't think that we need in addition to the defensive line, things we need to think about is what we can do when we are a tight game and don't want to have three guys running free at Josh Allen. Definitely need a young wide receiver one. So I think that we will address that right within the draft, but I don't believe that we're going to get it done until about the third quarter. I think that this team looked at what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do against the Kansas City Chiefs just 2 days ago. And then I think a light bulb also clicked right in their head, and they saw something very similar to what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ultimately ended up doing to the Kansas City Chiefs a couple of years ago, right in the Super Bowl. And that was the intensity of a quality pass rush. And I feel like pass rush has been our biggest weakness for the past couple of years, right? Like, yes, our defense's struggles were masked by the fact that we took the football away. Like, we were number one in turnover differential at one point during this season, and that was the saving grace. And that was the saving grace for everything. But our biggest metric where we fell and sucked was stopping third down conversions, right? So I think if we add a game wrecker, that ultimately just makes the defense significantly better from top to bottom. But have no fear, because I have a couple of prospects in the third round that has the speed on the outside and somebody that I think that would fit in perfectly. Spoiler alert, it's Jalen Royals, my personal favorite wide receiver out of the draft. I know the Bills will make it next year. I was eating ice cream in the dark when they lost. We all have our coping mechanisms. I'm not sure what I did. I'm pretty sure I sat in the shower in the fetal position for about 30 minutes, but is what it is. No shame. Defense wins championships. We got to invest in some dogs. I feel like Josh can make any wide receiver look good and make them better. Yeah, like, here's the deal, right? Joe Brady has really shown himself, or has shown us, that he looks at wide receivers and offensive personnel as role players. Each and every single player on this team, from the wide receiver category, like down to our running backs, played a specific positional role. Like, we had our 50-50 guy who was Keon Coleman, who was solid at the first half of the year. He got injured and like really didn't play too well afterwards. We had our speed guy who was Curtis Samuel. Unfortunately, Josh Allen just didn't really establish much chemistry with him. And while Josh was an MVP, trust me, he was an MVP. He has the trophy to damn prove it, right? But out of the two weapons that he threw the most off-target throws to all season, just so happened to be the two players that Bills Mafia wanted to eviscerate all season. And that was Curtis Samuel and that was Dalton Kincaid. Both of those guys had like a 69% catchable pass rate and a 71% catchable pass rate from Josh Allen all year long, where players like Shakir and Mac Hollins enjoyed more of like 85, 86. Josh played great, but when you see a stat like that, you have to wonder, are we missing something from Curtis Samuel here? Is one more year of chemistry for this guy going to be the reason why it's unlocked? And we saw Curtis Samuel show up several games toward the back half of the season when he finally had that chemistry with Josh. But I do think that we need somebody that's speedy on the outside as well. Like somebody that's speedy, like right on the outside. And that could be also a role. I think the Buffalo Bills do wonderful next year, but I think that it's also going to be one of those situations where we do not have a 1,000-yard wide receiver, which is something I think is intriguing. What rookie will help the Bills defense in the upcoming draft? All right. So who are some players I'm looking at within the draft? I absolutely love Billy Bowman Jr. He's a free safety out of Oklahoma. He has like a third or fourth round grade. Solid free safety. He's deadly in pass coverage. He looked great during the Senior Bowl. I really, really liked him. I like Walter Nolan, interior defensive lineman. I think it's Deion Baker as well from Kentucky. Solid one-tech defensive tackle. He could potentially get things done for us. I love his name is Azarie Thomas. He's a corner out of Florida State, but he's like a second or a third round guy too. Several players, but have no fear, folks. We're going to be unpacking all of that all off season long. Hence why it's important to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications, because we're going to be talking about a bunch of saucy ass topics here. Definitely am hyped about Curtis Samuel next year. I think if he actually is involved, he will have a much better season. Spidey Munn is saying, just got here, but we need Cook. 15 million is a lot and he's worth it, but we're already so limited with cap space. So we need all the good players we can keep. So I'd hate to sacrifice good players for Cook to stay. His contract probably wouldn't be all that bad, man. He's probably going to go for 10 million. I don't think it's going to be 15 million. I honestly think that that was a troll job, because that would mean that he would be getting paid more than Saquon Barkley. And James Cook's an absolute dog, but I do think that he's self-aware enough to where he like realizes that he's not like a Saquon Barkley money kind of guy. And I know that same thing with Christian McCaffrey, who's like paid like $19 million a year. I think that we can get James Cook back this offseason for about $10 to $11 million on an annual average salary, but make the vast majority of it a signing bonus for like a 4-year deal and backload exactly how much it goes into it. So I feel like we're going to be fine. I feel like we're going to be fine of players that we can or we cannot walk away from. What about drafting Nick? I know exactly who you're talking about, but I still struggle pronouncing his last name, out of South Carolina as a safety in the first and or the second round. He's going in the first. I would be happy with him too, but he's more of a strong safety, right? Like he's more of like a Cole Bishop and a Taylor Rapp. So I think it might be a bit redundant, but he's a dude, like he's a dog. We can replace Cook, though. I mean, here's the thing, right? Can we? Can we, though? Because I feel like James Cook has been the best running back that we have had since Shady McCoy's first season. Like, right in between, I really didn't see a lot of production from that team. Like, James Cook's vision and James Cook's development into this third year has been some of the best like running back play I have seen from a Buffalo Bills running back in quite some time. I think that's a common misconception that we can just plug and play a bunch of guys here and there. If that was the case, then Ray Davis wouldn't have struggled as much as he did this year. And while Ray Davis had a couple of good games, he still had his share of struggles right even behind that offensive line. So not so much going to hop on that train that I think that we could easily replace James Cook. I'm not on that train just yet, but I totally understand the sentiment. Ray Davis and Ty Johnson time if James Cook is gone. Corey Bartlett is coming in. Bean will get Cook taken care of. Hollins also. Cooper might want more than we can give him. If we get Garrett or Crosby, we are set. People want to come to Buffalo and know that they are close. Dan, is AFC East Roundtable happening today? Robert Kane, it certainly is. It's starting in 40 minutes, my friend. It's starting in 40 minutes. Now, that's actually fantastic. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I would love each and every single one of you to tune in, because today's topic on the AFC East Roundtable just so happens to be what team is going to take down the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East next year. Spoiler alert, absolutely nobody. Absolutely nobody is taking down the Buffalo Bills this year, folks, because you know that that division is all ours. So what I would like for you guys to do here is go subscribe to this channel right here and turn on bell notifications, because we are about to be having our bloodbath here in about 40 minutes. If you have no idea what the AFC East Roundtable is, it is a show that myself, my Dolphins buddy, my Jets buddy, my Patriots buddy started about 5 years ago, where we ultimately end up meeting once a week to discuss all things AFC East. And I sit there and I humble them about who their daddy is within the division. It's a media company that I own called Roundtable Sports. We have a show for each and every single division. We have a bunch of other sports shows. So if you are interested in joining, it's in 40 minutes. 6:30 p.m. EST over on the AFC East Roundtable. I sincerely hope that you come and you show a little bit of love. Come on now. Jerry, after 4 years, James Cook is still struggling with pass blocking, explains why he is not on the field a lot of the fourth quarter. So here's the thing, Jerry. Normally, I would be super concerned about that because you want that to be something from your running back. But how Joe Brady really schemes against that is how the Buffalo Bills run their offensive line. A lot of jumbo packages, right? 6 offensive linemen are out there. And we also have some tight ends like Dawson Knox, who is incredible in overall pass blocking as well. So I think that if, for example, we weren't running a jumbo package from the offensive line, like 90% of the time, then I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's a big issue. But like we've schemed against it and we have answers to that, right? Like that just goes to show you the genius of overall Joe Brady right there. That's my thoughts. Love the AFC East Roundtable. I cannot wait. Good, Corey. Good, Corey. I appreciate you coming on in. Royals from Utah State looks fabulous when I saw him a couple of weeks ago. He's a dog. I'm not going to lie. The Dolphins might be a lot worse next season. Dr. Jekyll. Super Bowl being in Santa Clara next year might be a big deal for Josh Allen, 2 hours away from his hometown. I'm writing it into existence. I know that each and every single one of us are as well. Zickness is saying Josh Allen will come home to Cali and win Super Bowl 60 at Levi Stadium. Go Bills Mafia. Bills Super Bowl 60 champs. Mitchie Biscuits Super Bowl MVP. Mitchie Biscuits. We have Go Pack Go is in the chat. Tiny, what's going on? Hope all is well, man. No disrespect to your Buffalo Bills, but the Ravens might have been the best equipped to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, we'll see, man. We shall see, especially if the Dolphins trade Tyreek Hill. They definitely are going to take a step back. I mean, we'll see how that plays out. Sucks there's nothing we can do about Elam. We're kind of stuck with him. It's funny because we're going to be looking at some of those contracts sometime later this week. I think that we tried to trade him last offseason, but nobody wanted him, right? Like nobody wanted him. So he's clearly not a fit to this defense. I don't think that Sean McDermott has really any intention of implementing him right in it. But time will tell. Time will tell. Bills have no worries this season in our division. Now we need to build the team to beat Philly. All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of your favorite late afternoon show. All right. The Dom Mafia Report. Tomorrow, I am going to be doing my usual 2 streams. I'm probably going to break down the Von Miller contract at one point to see if we can walk away from him this offseason. And then I'm also probably going to be doing a free agent spotlight. Somebody that I think could potentially be a Buffalo Bill, how we could make it happen, etc. Now, do keep in mind with my series of free agent target, just know that obviously we're not going to be able to sign each and every single one of them. It is just players that I think could potentially fit within our scheme, and obviously players that I think that would make sense financially. So I'm very excited to unpack all of this. So certainly go on ahead, subscribe to the channel, and turn on bell notifications if you haven't already. Powered by BetUS, best sports book in the face of the planet, matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000. Use code YouTube150. Love y'all, and I will see you over at the AFC East Roundtable. Link is pinned at the top of this chat in just 30 minutes. Peace.